I'd like to welcome everybody to this webinar today, and good afternoon to all of our participants from Europe. Good evening to all our participants in Singapore and other parts of Asia. And if we do have any participants coming from the other side of the Atlantic, a very good morning to you. So my name is Anya O'Mara, and I'm one of the co-founders of Alumnair, together with Stefan Herson, who is also on this call with us. And Alumnair is a do-good website, and we're supporting the aerospace and travel community right now in this pandemic time. We're offering insights, learnings like we're doing today. We're offering job support through our jobs page, and we're also hopefully offering some hope to you in this difficult time through our community space. We're on alumnair.com, so don't hesitate to come and have a look at our website. So today, for the first session of our Meet the Mentors series, we're very honored to have Bob Larcher with us. And Bob has more than 35 years experience in training and coaching in personal development and leadership. And many of those years, he has worked very, very closely with the aeronautical industry. But I'm sure Bob will introduce himself a little bit more in a few moments. Over to you, Bob.
Okay, thanks, Anya. Hello, as Anya said, I'm Bob Larcher. So I'm actually a chemical engineer by original training. And I moved into the world of personal development, as Anya said, maybe 35 years ago. And in virtually all those 35 years, I've worked reasonably heavily within the aeronautical industry. In the UK, I was based in Rolls-Royce in Derby, where I was responsible for developing the trainee population. I worked with British Airways and British Aerospace in the UK. And since I've been in France, I've been delivering training to Airbus since 1992. Mental toughness is a subject that seems to be quite in vogue, and has been in vogue now maybe for at least a year or so, maybe even more. A lot of misconceptions with regards to what mental toughness actually is. So this webinar is really about maybe trying to demystify mental toughness and look at some of the myths and the realities of mental toughness. So I'm an accredited mental toughness master trainer, which sounds very grand. I was first trained in mental toughness in 2006, and I became a master trainer in 2017. Well, that's enough about me. So here we go. On mental toughness, if you look around on the web, if you type mental toughness, you'll get lots of images of this nature. Yeah, the military elite, the GIGN in France, the Navy SEALs, the SAS. You'll probably see images of sports people. You know, Rafael Nadal, canoeists, canoeing down the slopes of Everest, triathlons, skiers, skiing down impossible slopes. Probably see images of the fire services, the rescue services, people having to go into burning buildings to save people. You see a bit less, our teachers, people running difficult meetings, maybe a manager running a difficult annual interview. In fact, we all need mental toughness. It's not just the military elite. It's not just the tennis elite. It's not just the rescue forces. In fact, we all need mental toughness. Exactly is mental toughness. Again, if you look around on the web, you'll find a variety of definitions. Yeah, the ability to resist, overcome doubts, concerns, move towards an objective, have a high performance, achieve what you set out to achieve. Yeah, that little voice in the back of the head that tells you to keep going. Yeah, when Rafael Nadal is 2 sets down facing a Roger Federer, and he manages to come back because that little voice in the back of his head is going, "Go on, Nadal, you can do it, you can do it, you can beat him." That little voice that keeps us going. Yeah, the natural or developed psychological edge that enables you to keep going, enables you to be a little bit better than your opponents. A combination of resilience, curiosity, drive. Someone mentioned driven earlier on, to grow yourself, your confidence in your abilities. And of course, our ability to perform under stress. In fact, if you look at all the different definitions, there are clearly some words that invariably stand out. They'll be talking about challenge, or they'll be talking about coping, bouncing back, keeping going, not giving up, having confidence, maintaining control. So there's clearly some commonalities in the different definitions. And I use what's become today very much a benchmark definition of mental toughness. It says a narrow plastic personality trait which helps to explain how individuals respond to stress, pressure, opportunity and challenge, irrespective of circumstance. So mental toughness, it's not the answer to everything. It's not the whole of our personality. It's a part of our personality that enables us at the same time to seek out challenge and to face up to challenge. And it's a narrow personality trait, and it's also a plastic personality trait, i.e. we can develop it. We can grow and we can develop our mental toughness. So this is the definition I use. It's based on the work of Peter Clough, who was originally a sports psychologist, and Doug Strysarczyk, who is a Polish, British-based Polish consultant who have been working on the subject for many, many years now. So in the world of mental toughness today, there is we're starting to have a common definition. It's a bit like talking about leadership. Yeah, if you Google leadership on the web, you'll find dozens of definitions. But again, for leadership, there is pretty much a benchmark definition, and now we're starting to have one for mental toughness. Maybe just here to make a comparison with resilience. Clearly, resilient people are able to face up to stress and bounce back from stress and challenge, as mentally tough people are. The difference is simply that mentally tough people, they have this tendency, maybe a desire, maybe a drive, to actually seek out challenge. Yeah? People in mentally tough, they will actually seek out and put themselves in difficult situations. Resilient people, they have the tendency to wait, so to say, until the challenge falls upon them. So when the challenge falls upon them, they'll rise up to the challenge. Generally, they'll face up to the challenge, they'll survive the challenge, they'll make their way through the challenge, but they won't necessarily go out and seek out new challenges. So we could probably say that people who are mentally tough are also resilient, but people who are resilient are not necessarily mentally tough. And it's interesting in studies with entrepreneurs, they tend to be mentally tough. Yeah? They have this desire, this proactive desire to seek out challenges and to take on challenges. So why should we be concerned about it? A lot of studies will tell us that those with higher mental toughness are generally less likely to experience fatigue. When working hard, they're generally able to take on more work than those less mentally tough. Even the mentally tough, we all have our limits. The mentally tough appear to be more risk-orientated and manage risk better. This is something that came out in the studies with regards to entrepreneurs. They're quite open to taking risks and managing that risk. They also learn from that risk, and when maybe the first entrepreneurial activity fails, they'll bounce back and they'll go and seek out another challenge. Interestingly, the mentally tough are able to forget things and focus on the current issue. Mentally tough people tend to have a greater ability to be mindful. Yeah, they can forget about maybe the last extremely difficult meeting that they were in and not think about the next even more difficult meeting that they're going to be in, but they can stay focused on the meeting they are here and now. They can put the others to one side and concentrate what's important. Negative correlation with psychopathy and generally with Machiavellism, which is a good news. So mentally tough people are not necessarily nasty people. There's often this maybe misconception that goes with mentally tough, which goes back to it being all about testosterone and muscles and mentally tough people. They walk through walls and they're blah, 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 which is not at all the case. And interestingly, mentally tough people, in fact, they're not prone to bullying. So mentally tough people, although they may be strong in themselves, they won't be bully others, and neither will they bully themselves. And generally, it seems to contribute to increased personal performance, more positive behaviour, greater well-being, and higher aspirations. People with high mental toughness tend to seek out challenges and things that will enable them to grow as a person. So it seems to be something, for me at least, it seems to be something positive. In the early days when mental toughness was starting to get a lot of press, it was perceived really as something quite negative. So there was clearly this kind of macho element with regards to mental toughness. Yeah, the first images, and even now, if you surf on the web, the images you'll come across are invariably men being tough and being solid. Unless it comes to looking at the weaknesses of mental toughness, then you have images of women crying, etc. Yeah, so it was clearly perceived as something which is all about being strong and kind of physically tough, whereas today it's clearly understood it's something about being mentally tough. It's about our attitude. You don't have to have big muscles or big triceps, big biceps to put up with a class of difficult children or to run a difficult meeting. So beneath the surface, it's easy to say it's a plastic personality trait. So what's actually beneath the surface of mental toughness? Mental toughness is made up of what psychologists call constructs. So there's 4 constructs. A psychological construct is something that we believe exists, but you can't actually get a handle on it. You can't actually see it physically, so to speak. It's a bit like ego. It's a bit like the id, etc. We can't see them, but you can kind of get a handle on them from looking at people's behaviours, things people say, things people do. So there's four constructs. So control is about can-do. Yeah, control gives us our can-do attitude. Commitment gives us our stickability. Challenge is our kind of have-a-go attitude. And confidence is our self-belief. So the more we have of these, the greater our mental toughness will be. So mental toughness is a conglomerate of these four constructs. So self-belief, in fact, it's our self-belief that will enable us to have a go at a challenge. I believe in myself, I believe in my abilities, I'm willing to have a go at this challenge. And it's my control of myself, my life, my emotions, which enables me to can do, and which actually pushes me towards my stickability. So mentally tough people, not only will they take up a challenge, they will actually see the challenge through and achieve the challenge. And each of these 4 constructs has 2 subdimensions. So control is made up from emotional control and life control. So life control is about, do I make decisions for myself in my life? It's a bit linked to the notion of locus of control. Is my compass internal? Do I decide where I'm going, what I'm doing based on my personal values, my personal beliefs, my personal objectives? Or am I more controlled by the outside world, other people's values, other people's beliefs? And in emotional control is more correctly the ability to manage the manifestation of one's emotions. So it's not about controlling our emotions. Our emotions, they just happen to us. We're in a situation, something happens, and we feel happy, sad, frustrated, disappointed, angry, etc. The emotional control is the notion of being able to manage how I externalize what's happening internally. So control is broken down into 2 subdimensions. Commitment, again, 2 subdimensions. On orientation, objectives. Am I someone who likes setting myself objectives, maybe SMART objectives? I like to be specific, measurable, attainable, they're relevant, I can track them down, etc. And I also have an orientation achievement. Not only do I set myself objectives, I also want to achieve my objectives. I work with lots of managers, and we have priority settings and objective setting sessions, and they're quite good at setting the objectives. When it comes to achieving the objectives, that's often another question. The challenge, again, 2 subdimensions. An orientation risk, yeah, again, could be high or low. Do I have an orientation risk? Am I willing to step out of my comfort zone, try out different things, challenge myself, maybe physically, maybe intellectually, maybe emotionally, maybe spiritually? Am I willing to challenge myself? And am I willing to learn how I was challenged. I'm finding confidence, my self-belief, my interpersonal confidence, my ability to stand up to difficult people. I believe in myself. I believe that I'm a valid person. Maybe for those who know transactional analysis, it's kind of the I'm okay, you're okay principle. I'm an okay person, you're an okay person. I'm assertive, I can face up to people. And my confidence and abilities, my belief that I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident in what I'm doing. So that's what mental toughness is beneath the surface. So it's this plastic personality trait, but it's actually made up of constructs which are divided into sub-elements. And we can actually measure these sub-elements, and we can have a conglomerate measure of someone's mental toughness. And we'll see later, we can identify holes in people's rackets, the trou dans la raquette, as they say in French. So are we all mentally tough? In a word, yes. We're all mentally tough, but some people are more mentally tough than others. Mental toughness is spread over a scale. It's been shown that mental toughness is spread fairly normally within a population. When I first started working on mental toughness in France, I ran an equivalent study and I tested 1,000 people on their mental toughness, and I actually produced quite a nice normal distribution curve. Although my average was slightly shifted, but instead of being 5.5, it was shifted to 6. More people, that will come down. So clearly, we're all mentally tough. Some people are very high. Some people tend to be very low. We all have some. A large amount of us have an average amount. Some of us have a high amount, and some of us have a very high amount. So we can actually measure that. So can we develop it? Yes, we can. All of our thoughts and actions are governed by what's called neural pathways. I don't want to get into neurosciences, but we have chains of neurons that have linked up in a particular way over our life. We learn to do things in a certain way, and we have chains of neurons that allow us to do things. They allow us to walk, they allow us to sit, they allow us to stand. Things we don't even think about. Yeah. People when they're playing tennis, all the movements they've learned in playing the tennis. If you play the guitar, all the movements you've learned to playing guitar, but all this repetition, it creates these links that are now allow us to do that kind of seamlessly and without thinking. Now, replacing those existing pathways with new pathways is not easy. These pathways they become ingrained within us, and we develop our way of doing things. So replacing a pathway is not easy. Yeah, there have been studies to show us that yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but it's not easy. Right? And even if you have a behaviour which maybe you want to do differently, yeah, even if you learn this new behaviour, in fact, the original pathway it doesn't get replaced. It gets superseded by the new pathway. In fact, the original pathway is still there. Yeah? And when we're under stress, we can actually revert to type, which is why a lot of people, when they come out of training sessions, they decide they want to behave differently, they want to do something differently, and maybe during the training session, they practice something, etc. And when they go back to work, they find themselves from simple situations to practice this new way of doing something, this new way of behaving, and they succeed quite well. And then when they become under stress, they're in a difficult meeting, it suddenly all goes to pieces and they revert to type. The existing neural pathway comes back into action and they start reacting as they reacted before the training session. And this is true of all, even people like tennis players. Yeah, I remember reading an article about Roger Federer. He changed the way he wanted to serve. Yeah, and he spent weeks and weeks serving his new way of serving. And at the beginning, he said he had to consciously think, oh, I'm serving differently. Oh, I'm serving differently. Each time I throw the ball up in the air, oh, I'm serving differently. Until it was finally became ingrained, and it became his new way of serving. And this comes down to all our behaviours. Yeah? The way we stand in front of a group, the postures we use, etc. We all have these pathways. And for most of us, certainly once you're in your late 20s and later, they're ensconced. and it's difficult to move them. So, but yes, we can develop it. So how can we develop it? Alors, as I said, control and confidence is about our self-belief. So if we have our self-belief, if we believe we can do difficult things, this belief enables us to actually take on commitments and challenge. It enables us to move to action. If I believe I can do something, I convince myself to do it, this will enable myself to act. So I'm standing on the side of the swimming pool. I can't swim. Ooh, I think I'll be okay. Do I do it? Do I not? I psych myself up. Oh, I can do it. I can do it. And my self-belief throws me into the swimming pool. Alternatively, I'm standing on the swimming pool and I'm doubting whether I can do this or not. And someone comes up behind me and pushes me in. Doesn't give me the chance. So this action and challenge, in fact, that actually enables me to have my self-belief. I'm pushed into the swimming pool, and wow, I wave my arms around and I don't drown. So we can actually develop ourselves from what I call a virtuous personal development cycle. We can think ourselves into acting, which is very much maybe the positive psychology, the kind of the just do it attitude, have belief in yourself, throw yourself from the top of the building, you won't die. I exaggerate. So you can think yourself into acting, but you can also act yourself into thinking. You can look in the mirror in the morning and tell yourself that you're the best thing since sliced bread, I own the beans, I can do it, I can do it. Or you can suddenly find yourself in the situation, and because you get your way through the situation, because you find yourself outside your comfort zone and you've done it, that actually impacts the way you think. So it's a kind of virtuous development cycle. If we just keep throwing ourselves into things and we don't consider what I did and how I did it, I'll probably never get the click in my head. And if I just sit there thinking about it, I won't actually pass to the act. So we need a bit of both. So you can think yourself into acting and you can act yourself into thinking. So to go back to that, get back to my beneath the surface. So what does it really look like? Yeah. So we can see what they are. What does it sound and look like? So to explain that, because mental toughness, it's not something that develops in leaps and bounds. Yeah. It's kind of an aggregation of small changes. I'm a great believer in the 1% rule. Each day you do it 1% better, 1% better, 1% better. And these 1%, they build up over a period of time, and you actually find yourself with aggregated significant changes. So to talk about that, I'll use the symbol that's been up here in the top right-hand corner of my slides, which is how mental toughness is generally presented. So if you're in the UK or if you're Anglo-Saxon, they call this the donut. And if you're in the French environment, they call this the camembert. So is mental toughness culturally biased? So up here we have commitment, which is our stickability, extent to which you make promises and keep them. We have challenge, getting outside our comfort zone, having a go. Our self-belief, being able to stand up and deal with difficult people. And our can-do, our control, the extent to which you believe in yourself and you can shape what happens. And all this makes up our mental toughness. So what does it look like? Yeah, if you're committed and you have high commitment in mental toughness, you're going to look focused. Someone mentioned focused earlier on. You're going to look tenacious. You're going to look determined. You're going to be saying things like, don't give up, keep going. Here's an alternative, keep the end goal in sight. We can do this, don't stop. These are the kind of things you're going to hear and you're going to see from someone who clearly has high commitment. Someone who has high challenge, they're going to look open. They're going to be optimistic. They're going to be enthusiastic. They can clearly be willing to have a go at something. They're going to be saying things like, oh, that's worth trying. Well, what can we learn from that? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. That's interesting. I'll have a go. People who are confident, they tend to be assertive. They tend to be influential. They're very convincing. Maybe the downside is being arrogant. Mental toughness isn't about being arrogant. It's about being assertive. So they're going to look assertive. They're going to sound. They're going to say, this is what I know, and this is what I don't know. I think I'm right. They speak for themselves. They don't say we can't do that. That's not possible for us. They talk about I. I believe this, I believe that. They speak for themselves. The control people, they look calm, they look decisive, they look measured. And they sound calm. It's not worth panicking. It's up to us to get out of this. Concentrate on what's going on in here and now. And what does it feel like from the inside? This is what we would see looking at someone from the outside. And what does it feel like on the inside? Yeah. When you're truly committed, you feel engaged. You can feel the energy. You feel energized. You feel in the zone. You're focused on one thing, and you're clearly there. Yeah? What does it feel like when you have high challenge? You feel willing. Yeah. You want to have a go. You feel proactive. You feel curious. That's interesting. What might I learn from this? Yeah. My confidence. I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable in the situation I'm in. Yeah? I'm with people. Maybe they know more about me. They know more about the subject than me. Maybe they're better paid than me. Maybe they have a higher grade than me. That's not a problem. I'm comfortable. I feel grounded. I feel self-assured. I'm okay. And they're okay as well. And in terms of control, yeah, I feel mindful. I feel here and now. I'm not elsewhere. I feel autonomous. Yeah, I have choice. I can decide. Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I go to this meeting? Do I not go to this meeting? So this is what mental toughness looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. Gives you an idea of the sorts of things you should be maybe feeling, doing, saying to help you push, maybe proactively, your mental toughness. How individuals respond to stress, pressure, opportunity, and challenge. It's not the answer to everything, but it explains in quite a large part how we respond. We all need mental toughness. It's not just the domain of the emergency services, of the elites. We all have our daily storms that we need to face up to. It's distributed normally, so we all have it. We all have a certain amount. But at the moment, I've not come across anyone who has zero mental toughness. So we all have mental toughness. It could be measured. So it's becoming quite maybe scientific today. So it's still something which is relatively subjective, but we're starting to be able to maybe quantify the subjectivity within mental toughness. And we can all develop our mental toughness through a conscious aggregation of small changes. So it's small steps. And again, it's something we do consciously. We have to be aware of what we're doing. Again, I say people come out of training programs and they say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And they do it for a few days and nothing happens, so they stop doing it. It's a conscious, long-term approach. So mental toughness, as I say, it's an attitude, but it's that attitude that gives us the confidence to take up a challenge and stay in control of ourselves to achieve our commitments. So when we have high mental toughness, not only is it an attitude, but it's an attitude that pushes us, into action.
So I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. Look forward to having you again on our next webinars. And thanks a lot to Bob, and spread the word in your networks.
Okay, great pleasure. So
thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob.